Hey everyone, I am going to show you today how to make this really neat texture with polymer clay and alcohol inks. I really love this texture because it actually reminds me of a ceramic pot or a piece of a vase that's been broken, and you can really have so much fun making these different pieces because there's so much versatility, right? When you're working with designs that are a little bit more structured or serious or have hard edges, when you mess up, everyone's gonna know. But there's really no way to mess up here. Whatever you make, it'll look cool. And you can see right here, I've sealed these two with resin, but I actually prefer the look without resin. Anyway, so let's get started. Let me show you first everything you're gonna need. You're gonna need some clay, okay? You're gonna need a slicing tool to cut your clay, a brush, or your fingers. I like to paint with my fingers because I'm weird like that. You're gonna need your shape cutters, your alcohol inks, okay? And then you're gonna need your texture. Now this is a texture that I bought off of Amazon and it's absolutely beautiful. I haven't really used it yet, so I'm not gonna try that for the first time in this video. However, everything that I showed you just now, I made with this broken earring. Isn't that amazing? All this texture from this one earring, okay? So texture, you know, it's one of those things that it's fun. I mean, try out whatever looks like it would make a cool texture. I don't know, go press the clay up against the wall. You know, whatever you think is gonna look cool, try it out. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna condition our clay. And this is the worst part. I hate this part. I don't like doing it. I feel like it takes too long and it's boring and it's messy and I just really don't like it. And what I mean by that is we're gonna take chunks of our clay. Oh, and by the way, I'm working on top of parchment paper, okay? So we're gonna take our clay and I'm gonna try to make a greenish blend. Okay, I'm gonna use a little bit of gold. I'm gonna use a little bit of blue. I might throw in some neon. It takes a couple tries to really figure out how much clay you need to use. You're gonna end up with a lot of extra clay at first, but that's all right. Who cares? Doesn't matter. You'll use it eventually, or you won't. Doesn't matter. All right. I always like to throw a little bit of neon into things. To be honest, sometimes the neon completely disappears, but I don't know. I feel like I like knowing it's there. Okay, so we are gonna run everything through our clay machine. So I'm gonna move the camera. I always first start to just kind of warm things up with my hands, okay? I'm gonna roll it against the table here where there's no paper. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just working it out with my hands, just a little bit, okay? And now I'm gonna roll it through the clay machine. So I'm gonna move the phone a little bit so you guys can see the clay machine. And looks like, sorry, the phone holder is there. My clay machine is really, really beat up because I use it a lot. You can get a pasta machine. I know a lot of people will just use a regular pasta maker. This is actually one made for clay, and it's, in my experience, it's pretty crappy. I would probably buy a regular pasta machine because all the handles and knobs have fallen off of this thing. Anyway, all right, so we're gonna roll our clay through here on the thickest setting for now. I'm just gonna keep rolling it through. This is a great time to listen to a podcast, put a movie on in the background because this can take a while. We're gonna just keep rolling through until we get a uniform color, okay? I've seen some people add alcohol inks at this point, and you can do that, but I have not really enjoyed that system. I find that it's a little messy. You can see my machine is covered with paint, and I'd rather just save my alcohol inks for doing the actual artwork on top. But that's just me personally. So we're gonna go ahead and keep rolling here. Get everything through until I get a color that I think will make a really cool background. Now, as you're rolling everything through, you're gonna notice a bunch of these kind of jagged edges. So let's fold those in because we don't want them showing. Fold those in. Okay. Now, depending on what you're making, you're gonna wanna make sure that you have a nice back. I know the back doesn't seem like it's important, but it actually is to some people. I've been selling jewelry for a while now, and you wouldn't believe how many people care about what's on the back. I personally don't, but some people do. So keep that in mind when you're rolling out your clay. All right, now I am gonna make a couple pairs of earrings and a necklace, and guess what? This is not enough at all. So I goofed on that. So I'm gonna add some more clay. And what I'm gonna do at this point is I'm actually gonna use my scrap pile. I have a scrap pile, which is just like a ball of clay of just random colors. And I really actually love what's going on here. So I'm gonna try to save this by putting all this crap in the middle and folding it over. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. This was really not meant to be part of this video. This is like a little side note that's happening here, but let's see, maybe I can show you guys how I do this. So we're just gonna go like this. Again, this is the hard part. Like I said, my roller is not very good, so definitely struggle a lot with it. I actually almost didn't put this part in because it's kind of long and boring. I don't know, feel free to skip past it if you want. But here we go. It's getting better, okay? This, you know, anyone who's an artist knows that no matter what medium you work in, when you mix too many colors in, you end up with this same brown. What should we call this brown? It needs to be called like artist screw up brown. It's like, it's this. No one likes this brown. It's terrible. It's somewhere in between reddish brown and pinkish brown. I don't know, it looks like a liver. Ugh, it's awful. All right, so I've got my gross brown. And for the record, I love the color brown, but just not this particular blend of it. Okay. Yeah, this is more like a pink color. All right, so let's get this through one more time. I'm okay with some of this showing through, but not all of it, because I actually really love this green mix that I made here. It was unintentional, really. I was just trying to make a solid green. So I'm gonna put this on the smallest setting right now. I'm gonna roll it through, okay? And my machine is kind of broken, so it didn't work the first time. I'm gonna do that one more time. Okay, one more time. Okay. Looks like I'm making lasagna. So now, look at what I've done. I have this big, long, green, beautiful piece. Of course, there's dog hair in there. Always. Okay. So I'm going to take this brown because remember, I wanted to thicken this up and I wanted to have a little bit more clay than what I had. So I took this brown and I stuck it on the inside of this green here. And now I'm going to fold it. See, I folded it over there. And look, this part right here is kind of thin. That's not good because we want a uniform thickness. And now I'm going to run this whole thing through, okay? And let's see what happens. All right. So now I've got that same green, but it's thicker. There's actually something really nice happening here where some of the brown colors are pushing through. Some of the brown color is pushing through. My back is a little sloppy, so I'm gonna be very careful when I'm cutting out my shapes that this back is not showing on the back side, because like I said, some people are really picky with that. And a way to get around it is to just get rid of this stuff. And I'm gonna show you, we're gonna come back over here. So, okay, there we go. And so this is on the back. I'm just gonna cut this out. That way I'm not gonna accidentally have it appear on the back of something. I'm just gonna get rid of all that. There we go. Okay, and that little piece is fine. Okay, now let's turn this over. And now begins the fun part. So, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get some alcohol ink. All right, I got this stuff off of Amazon. It's called Piñata. and it was pretty expensive. I think it was like 30 bucks. Don't quote me on that. Go double check for yourself. I think it was like 30 bucks, but it's so worth it because a little goes a long way. I mean, I will have this stuff for a long time. I'm not really worried about running out anytime soon. So in my opinion, it was an investment. And for this particular piece, I want to have a green and white undertone with some pink on top. Okay, so I'm going to grab my white. I'm going to grab my pink. Actually, that's red. Oh, you know what? I don't have pink. I think I make it with white. Okay, so there we go. Grab some yellow and some gold. And okay, perfect. All right, so the first thing that I'm gonna do, let's center this a little bit. Okay, got this guy right here. This is what I'm gonna use to make my texture. And remember, you can use whatever you want. I just personally, I like using this. And I'm gonna start to press down and texture my clay. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that whatever it is you're using, you wanna make sure that you're changing the direction of it, okay? Don't just keep everything in one direction unless you're specifically going for a pattern. But for this particular piece, where I'm looking for, you know, that kind of all over pattern that doesn't really have a direction, I'm gonna move my textured object all around. I don't really have a method. I'm just putting it down. Okay, sorry guys. My phone storage was full, so I had to stop and delete a bunch of videos. And okay, here I am. So we're gonna keep doing this. Now remember, as you're putting your pattern down, switch everything up, but also keep an eye out for the thickness of your clay. See, like right up here, it feels really thin. So I know I don't want to eventually make an earring or a necklace piece out of this because it's really thin and it might get brittle and it might break eventually, and I don't want that. Especially if I sell it to someone and they give me money and then I look like I ripped them off. Definitely don't want to do that. All right. Now again, you can use one of these texture pieces, but I just really like using this earring piece. Shout out to whoever made this. I think it's from Macy's. Okay. Now what you're really aiming for to do something like this, to get this type of look, is you want to do some imprints that are light, that just add texture, and then you want to do a couple more that really go deep, because when we drop our alcohol ink in, we want the ink to go deep into the grooves, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the fun part, the alcohol ink. All right, I'm gonna grab my white first, okay? Shake it up a bit. And remember, with this stuff, a little goes a long way. So usually what I do is I'll just put a drop somewhere, okay? And then I'll take my finger and I'll just gently smear it around. You know what? I don't think I mixed this enough. Let's mix it a little more. Okay. I'm gonna put a few drops out, and you're gonna pat it and smear it. Now, be very careful. So you can see right here, I pressed a little too hard and it kind of filled in the grooves. I don't want that. You can also use a brush like a normal person, but like I said, I just really like painting with my fingers. So it's a personal choice for me. I always look like I have dirty hands, which really sucks because I actually do wash my hands a lot. But, you know, I'm an artist. It's okay. I think people expect artists to be a little off in a bunch of human categories. All right. Well, there are no real rules to this. You can just trust your artistic instinct. Hello, words. Oh my God, I'm totally sober too, which is scary. You can trust your artistic instinct and play around with the colors. You don't need to follow exactly what I'm doing. This is just one method that I've used that works to create the look that I showed you before. And here's the thing about doing this style that I really like. You know, no two pieces will ever be the same, right? So that's really a good selling point. There are a lot of people that they love unique stuff. They always want to be the only one to have that exact item, that exact product, that exact design. And when you're working like this, they will. No one will have the exact same pair of earrings or necklace or whatever it is that you make using this style, because you literally are just creating individual little areas everywhere. Okay. Now, this stuff dries really fast, and I like pink, but I don't want any red on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna now do a pink layer by dabbing. Oh, you know what? That was the orange. Ah! Okay. I'm wondering if I'm out of pink. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. Aha, here it is. Okay, I made a mistake there. Sorry about that. My pink was still in the cupboard. No problem. This is a very forgiving medium. Okay, so on its own, it's a little dark, but I'm just gonna put a few drops down, okay? And then I'm gonna drop some white onto my clay, and I'm gonna mix it up. Now at this point, I like to use a brush a little bit for the edges to do this, okay? This is similar to dry brushing, and when your brush is not completely soaked in color, okay? Because we're really just trying to pick up the edges, the surface that's lifted up, okay? The edges of the clay here that's lifted up. So we want that green to be underneath it. And there's no right or wrong way to mix these colors. This is just how I like to do it. This is also something you can do with your kids too. You know, nothing here is really difficult. If your kids like working with polymer clay, or they haven't before, but you want to do a cool project, I mean, this is a great fun project that you can do with them. You can buy some textures that are more geared towards children. And kids love working with their hands too, so. Kids are messy. I think that's why I like them. Now, one thing to remember with abstract artwork, because in the end, if I think about it, what I'm really doing here is making a big abstract art piece that I'm then going to chop up and make jewelry out of. Jewelry. You know, abstract art is a layered process. So if along the way you panic because you're like, oh my God, this looks like crap. Yeah, maybe it does. But that doesn't mean it's going to when you're done with it. So if you don't like the colors you see, then keep working at it, and eventually you will like it, or you won't. That's when you'll roll it up into a big old scrap pile and use it for next time, like I did. Okay. All right, now I want to throw in a little bit of blue, but again, I don't want it to be a dark blue. I want to keep it light. So I'm going to take blue and green, mix them up really well. Wow, look at that beautiful purple that formed in the middle there. That's what I'm going for. I like when the paint does part of the work. You know what I mean? I just kind of lay it down and then the paint decides what happens. I love that part of it. Now, keep in mind when you do bake this, it's going to lighten up. It's not going to be as prominent, okay? The colors will get a little bit lighter when you bake them. So if right now you're like, oh my God, I have a headache looking at these colors, don't worry, because when it bakes, it'll be a little bit lighter, and you'll notice that. green in there. Fun. Look how pretty this is. Okay, so now look what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab this texture thing and I'm gonna add in some new texture on top of this in some spaces where I feel like it's needed. Okay. And now lastly, I'm gonna grab my favorite color. Wait, not yet, hold on. I lied, not yet, hold on. I lied, not on purpose. I'm just making sure I got all of the spots filled in. Ooh, look at that cool little dark area. I love that, oh my God, I love that. Now, what color has made a huge comeback recently? I mean, huge. Can you guess? It was considered really tacky looking in the 80s and 90s, and then it came back. Gold. Yep. Gold is back in full force, which is great because I personally love it. I think in a past life I was probably a crow because I love shiny objects. I love tacky things. You know, I did also grow up in New Jersey, so sorry to anyone out there from Jersey, but you know how we are, we're flashy. I went from New Jersey to Florida, you know, two places that are don't really churn out subtle and quiet people. We're flashy. All right, let me open this up. Okay, so the gold, I like to put the gold on at the end. I'm not sure why, but I just think it looks better. Okay, so I'm gonna go around, dabbing it in different places. And you can continue dabbing with your finger like a wild animal, like I do. Or you can even blow it. Some people take a straw and they kind of blow to create a cool type of stripe look or blown paint look. Let me see if I can do it. Look how cool that is. Yeah, that actually looks gorgeous. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this gold is just shimmering. I mean, it's so bright, it's so powerful, it's really, really beautiful. And I'm trying to spread it out because I don't want too much gold. You know, like I said, working with these paints is a learning process. A little goes a long way. One drop covers a lot of area. But if you mess up, it's okay because we can fix it. So now right here, I feel like I put a little too much gold right there. I went a little crazy with the gold. So I'm gonna come back in with some white and just drop that in. Boom. That actually looks kind of cool. Okay. So now, look at my fingers. They always look dirty. Okay, at this point, we're gonna take a little break and we're gonna let the paint on top dry up, okay? We're gonna wait 15 minutes and then we're gonna come back to this and we're gonna cut the shapes out. So, at this point, you wanna go upstairs. Well, I'm sorry, I'm working in my basement. Maybe you don't need to go upstairs, but you wanna go to your kitchen and you're gonna turn your oven on to 250 degrees. Make sure nothing's inside of it first. And then you wanna go ahead and get your cutouts ready, because we are going to cut out our shapes from this awesome clay. Oh, and also you want to get some saran wrap, okay? All right, 15 minutes. All right, everybody. You know how I said wait 15 minutes? Well, I'm a complete liar, okay? It took longer than 15 minutes for the top of this to dry. And the truth is, usually when I'm working on projects, I'm working on several different things at a time, so it can be a little difficult for me to keep track of how long things take. But in all honesty, I probably let this sit for about 40 minutes. And it's still a little tacky. but it's not too bad, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our saran wrap, okay? And we're gonna lay it on top. Now you don't have to lay saran wrap on top of your polymer clay when you cut it out, but if you do, you'll end up with smooth edges. So I actually made this before I learned that trick, and so you can see my edges are not really that smooth, and I'll show you once this batch is done how nice and smooth they look, okay? So now your instinct may be to just cram things together as close as possible, and that certainly makes sense, but I will sometimes choose design over saving on clay because I'll find a really nice area that has some nice colors in it. Like right here, I mean, that's kind of cool, but I think it looks so much better here because there's gold foil there. There's gold ink there. All right, so I'm gonna start with my cutout shape. And I got these from Create Along Polymer Clay store, I believe it's called. And then these I just got at the art store. Okay, so I'm gonna lay my first one down right here. I'm gonna make sure this is nice and clear. Okay, I'm gonna press down. And then, if you have a rolling device, you can even use a can. I like to do this to get really in there, okay? Lift out. I can see this edge here needs a little bit more loving. Press down. There we go. Okay? Now I am making necklaces with these, so I don't need to have 2 of each. That being said, I'm still gonna make 2 because you never know, you could mess up. I mess up all the time. Oh my God, I'm the queen of messing up. The amount of money I have spent on art supplies that ended up being messed up things is really, it's really sad actually. Okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna make a few different designs. Okay. Ooh, I love this area. This is the best part over here, this area over here. Okay, and then I've got my cool triangle shape. I love triangles. I don't know why. I've always really just liked the way they look as earrings, as necklaces, pendants for necklaces. Something symbolic about a triangle, right? Okay, I'm not sure what. Okay, now as you can see, there's a lot of space in between my larger shapes, and I would be completely nuts to waste that. Oh, you know what? Look, I forgot to roll these out. Let's do that. Honestly, rolling on top like this really makes a big difference. So that's why I realized I forgot it, and I'm going back in and doing it because it does make a difference. It really just helps you get a nice, clear cut. Okay, now, that one's a little messed up, but that's okay. I can sand that off. So now what I'm gonna do is grab my box of shapes, and I am going to make some small cutouts. You never know when you'll use them. I mean, you might as well just bake them and make them, and then you can maybe one day use them for something. You never know. I don't want to waste all this space, so I'm gonna just make some little shapes. Again, I really don't know what I'm gonna use these for yet, but that's okay. I'll have them. When I make small shapes, I usually do work in 2s because I think that these will be great as earrings. Smaller cutouts are great for little stud earrings. Let's use these little circles now. I don't really need to roll on top of the circles because they actually just come out really nicely. How cute those are. I don't wear stud earrings myself because I have really long hair and I have a big nose and I need I need big earrings to balance it all out. So I usually wear long dangly earrings, but stud earrings are really popular. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and lift this off. And don't worry about some ink coming off. Some of these might actually be lifting off. It's fine. Okay, now you're gonna go ahead and lift this out, leaving behind your beautiful shapes that you just cut out, okay? Look at that. Even though I pressed really hard and I rolled on it, it still didn't come out. Sometimes that happens. Okay. All right, so some of these are really sloppy and I'm gonna fix them. I'm just gonna take my slicer, trim this up. Now you can always, and you should actually, sand all of your pieces when they sand or buff them when they come out of the oven. But you can save yourself a lot of time just by cleaning up some of these really big pieces of extra clay that are on the edges here. Okay. Now, you may choose at this point to make your holes, or you can wait until after everything is baked and then do the holes with a little Dremel tool. I have found that you get a much cleaner hole with a Dremel tool, but doing them right now does save you an extra step. I mean, you're still putting them in, but you don't have to get out your Dremel tool, put on your goggles, blah, 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 that whole deal. So it's really up to you whether or not you want to add the holes at this point or you want to do it later. A lot of people, I think, prefer doing it afterwards, but again, it's up to you. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of my ink and I'm just going to go and dabble in some areas that maybe didn't get enough love. Let's see here. Give them a little more something. A little more flash. Where's that pink that I love so much? Again, you can use your brush at this point, like a normal person. I like using my hands. And I don't have anything against the green that's showing. I just really want these colors to look very busy and blended, because that's the look I'm going for. There certainly is a space for clean artwork, but I've never been that person. I've tried to be that person in the past. It's really not me. I do work as a designer by trade, and let me tell you, sometimes the artist me wants to come out and design, decorate, and the designer in me is like, shh, calm down, stop it. All right, let's add a little bit of gold right there. The nice thing about jewelry is that, you know, it's a personal choice. If somebody likes something, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. No one is hurt. You don't have to like it. Okay, so at this point, you are going to want to put everything in the oven. Or if you want, you can make a hole. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys how to make a hole at this point, and then also how to make a hole afterwards, okay? So let me pause the... Okay, so I'm gonna show you a couple different tools and ways of making holes. Okay, so I already know that I'm gonna make these two into necklaces. These moons right here. Actually, they would make awesome earrings, wouldn't they? Oh no, I wish I had more. Okay, let me just kind of lay everything out. You know what? This guy needs a little more color. You do. There you go. One thing I'll say is I have baked clay and then added in the alcohol ink, but for me personally, I didn't really like that look as much because it came out, in my opinion, a little too bright. And there's nothing wrong with it. I just prefer the more subdued pastel-y look that happens after baking. This is actually a really good example of what it looks like if you bake everything and then add in your alcohol inks. You can see how bright these colors are. Whereas right here, they're a little bit more muted. In this case, the alcohol ink went onto the piece before I baked it, okay? So that's just a little something for you to know if you prefer darker colors or lighter colors. Ah! Okay, that was not planned, but let's turn it into something. Let's turn it into something. Let me see. Okay, now one thing I did notice is that this piece right here has a thin corner. If you're making it for personal use, that's fine, but I wouldn't sell this. So this guy is gone. All right, now that we've fixed this, kind of, let me show you how I like to make holes and hanging parts. Okay, ugh, that sounded weird. All right, so for this piece right here, it's gonna be a necklace, and I'm gonna actually use this little guy right here. Oh my God, it's called an eye pin. Yeah, it's called an eye pin. All right, so you want to think about, how do you want it to be? Do you want it to be like this, or do you want it to be like this? I'm gonna hang this off of a chain with another oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. With another jump ring, Jesus, with a jump ring. Okay, that's gonna go like that. So then that would turn my chain. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it like this so the jump ring can go over it. Okay, I'm gonna try to find the middle. I'm gonna hold on very gently. Sometimes what I do is I'll find the middle and I'll just kind of make a little marker for myself that no one on earth will know is there except for me. And then very gently, you have to have really smooth hands for this. I stick this in, and it didn't come out the other side, which is good. And I totally forgot a step. Okay, what you can do, I mean, you'll be fine without it, but you can use some of this Sculpey bakeable medium here, and you can put it on your eyelet before it goes in. Now this stuff will dry solid, so if you see anything goopy, get rid of it now, because you don't want it on your piece. Okay, there we go, just kind of cleaned it up. All right, that was a little messier than I wanted it to be. Okay, so there's that one. So let's do the other one, and we're gonna do it the same way, but this time we're gonna add a little bit of this bakeable medium to the end here. Okay, like this. All right, and let's find a nice center. Okay, now in this case, it almost came out the other side. So I'm gonna pull back a little bit, clean that up, and just kind of angle it a little little differently. You know what? This is also really thin back here. Okay, so what we can do to fix this, there we go. Take a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of this extra clay, patch it up. This is hard to do. I'm not gonna lie. I actually really like the way it looks better than any of the other ways of getting, you know, a hole or a device to hang from, or a piece to hang from. Here, this guy needs a little more of this, I think. Okay, so I like this way the best. I think it's just easier than when you're making jewelry. You don't have to stop. You don't have to do an extra jump ring right there. It's already done. But it is the hardest for sure, because what I just showed you, how it comes out the other side, that happens all the time, and it's really annoying. Okay, so then I'm going to show you with this one how to make just a regular hole before you bake it. And you can get these tools at Michael's. I think I paid, I don't know, they weren't very expensive. I think it was like $12 for 15 or 20 of these tools. They're just clay tools. And I'm going to show you the two best ones to use. You got this guy, okay, it's got the spiral tip. You're going to, again, find your center point and just spin it around like that. Now what happens is this, and this is one of the problems with making holes before baking, is you end up with this bump. So be sure that when you put it back down, you either cut it off or just plan on sanding it later, okay? Like this, okay? And for this one, we're gonna make a hole beforehand also. I'm just cleaning it up a little bit here. But we're gonna use this tool. I actually really like this tool. I don't know what this is called, but I love it. Okay. And just kind of press down in the center there and pull it up and go through. And I feel like you get a much cleaner hole with this than with the spiral tool there. I have found also bigger holes are better. They might not be prettier, but oh my God, how many times have I been making a piece of jewelry and my holes are not big enough and then I have to re-drill. At this point, I just make bigger holes. Okay, there we go. Let's make sure the back looks nice. Okay, now, the rest of these holes I am going to drill after baking, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we are gonna take our parchment paper and gently put it on a tray, baking tray. I have this old ugly rusty one, okay? We're gonna put it on the tray. You wanna make sure that you don't have any elevated paper underneath your pieces, okay? Because then they won't be smooth and flat when they come out. This is pretty ugly. I don't like this because it didn't really cut very smoothly. So I just went ahead and sliced it off. There we go. Now look, you can see that edge. Look at the difference when I use the saran wrap on top. See how that edge is smooth? Versus here, it's really sharp. So I'm just gonna leave this one out because it doesn't really match anything else at this point. Okay, now you're gonna bake this in the oven at 275 degrees for 45 minutes. You can Google polymer clay baking times and people will have different opinions and there's lots of different things that work. This is just what I use. And I tent my baking tray with some foil. I don't like to be wasteful, so I save the same foil that I use. I just reuse it and I reuse it. And by tenting your clay, you're creating almost like a little oven, okay? So that's why I'm doing it. There are some people out there that will run tests on things. And, you know, they probably have a better idea about how loosely to tent and whether it's really worth it, but I have found that it is. Things actually bake better. They bake quicker and harder and firmer. Okay, so in the oven now, 45 minutes. Good morning, everyone. It is now the next day, so the lighting's probably gonna look really different in this room because it was nighttime when I was filming yesterday and now it's daytime. Anyway, so I pulled my stuff out of the oven yesterday, and the truth is everything is a little bit lighter than I would have liked, and that's okay. Sometimes it happens. I think I didn't mix my inks enough. I went camping all last weekend, so I didn't use any of my ink, and when I mixed it for this video, I don't think that I mixed everything enough. But it's actually a good thing that this happened, because now I can show you how I would normally fix a situation like this. And the truth is, they're actually really pretty like this. It just is not, you know, what I was expecting. I wanted a little bit more color. Anyway, if you can remember, or well, I guess in your case, you're watching this all in one swoop, but I'm trying to think about yesterday. You know, if you can remember what these colors looked like yesterday before baking, they were really bright, and you can see how much lighter they are now. It's actually a really pretty look. I wish you guys could see this in person because it's really beautiful. Now at this point, if you want to do the back, you can do the back. And what you do is, in the same way that you painted the front, you're going to paint the back and then put it back in the oven. You don't need to do a full 45 minutes because your clay is already firm at this point. You can get away with doing maybe half an hour. Now, when it comes to earrings, I think it's important to do the backs, right? Because, and when I say do the back, I mean just add a little color, a little bit of something. You know what? Let me show you guys what I mean. So here these are going to be earrings. Actually, no, I'm sorry. These are going to be earrings. Okay, we're going to take these two and just do a quick little dab of some sort of color so that it looks like some attention was paid to the back. That's all. And there was pink on my brush here, so I kind of turned pink. Again, we're not doing full color because no one is really going to look at the backs of the earrings. This is just when you're wearing them and they dangle. We don't want there to be such a stark contrast between the front and the back. Or maybe you don't care. You know what? Maybe you don't care, but I have found that some customers care, and because some care, I'm going to do it for them. Okay? So then I'll just bake this in the oven, and that's it. Those are done. But these charms are actually going to be necklaces, and the necklace lays flat and it doesn't really dangle, so it doesn't really need anything on the back, in my opinion. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're now going to sand these 4 pieces, okay? I'm gonna show you the tools that I use, the tool that I use. It's a great little tool. Okay, guys. My voice might sound a little muffled. That's because I am wearing a dust mask, which you should always do if you're sanding. And I like to wet sand because it actually contains a lot of the particles that would normally fly up into the air. I just started wet sanding about 3 months ago, and it is life-changing. I will never go back to dry sanding. So this is the Dremel tool that I use. I think I paid $9 for this, brand new, at Harbor Freight Tools. This is an awesome tool. It's a game changer. Gets things done really quickly. It's very simple. One switch. This is the tool that I like to use personally, or the attachment that I like to use for sanding my edges. It's a little rough, but it gets the job done quickly, okay? All right, everyone. So now I'm going to make some holes in these pendants. At this point, what you want to do, maybe you've already planned out your design fully, so you already know where your holes are going, but I usually don't do that. I usually make the pendants and then I kind of take out my beads and think, okay, I want to hang something from here, I want to hang something from here. Now, I could have put another one of these in here, that would have been fine, but I didn't. So now if I want to add something to the bottom of this, I'm gonna have to make a hole. And you always want to make sure that you drill your holes after sanding. This is very important. If you make a hole, let's say for example, you make a hole right here in this little tip and then you sand it, you might end up sanding way down close to the hole, and you don't want to do that. So you want to sand first and then you want to make your holes, okay? So I've got my little Dremel tip here, all right? And I'm going to put my mask on and I'm going to make the holes. I want to say something. I lost the attachment that will hold the bigger drill piece, which is why I was moving my smaller drill piece in a circle to make a bigger hole. You should actually just use a bigger piece, and that way you don't have to go in circles and you'll get a smoother hole. So please use the correct piece. I just lost the attachment, so I can't really make that hole smooth using the drill. I do have the piece here, I just don't have the attachment, so I'm just gonna do this. Again, if you buy a kit, a Dremel, it'll have that piece already in it. Don't lose it like me, and you should be fine, okay? Yeah, I'm just trying to smooth this out a little bit. Okay, so now we are going to move on to sealing. Okay, so, and again, if you use the right piece, you'll have a nice circular hole and not this weird crazy one that I have here, but it is what it is. I find that once I put the jump ring in it, you can't really see it. It doesn't matter. Okay, so there are lots of different sealers that you can use for polymer clay. The Sculpey brand one, in my opinion, sucks. I don't really like it at all. I find it expensive, and people have said that it peels off, so I don't really like to use it. I like to use this polyurethane. It's cheap, it'll last you forever. You can use it on lots of different things, and it's great. You can also use UV resin, but that's a whole nother ballgame. And like I said, the UV resin will actually fill in these beautiful little grooves, so it's not something that I want to do for this particular style. And sorry my art table is so messy. I realize I have a really messy art table, but you know, it's an art table. Okay, so I'm gonna just take some of my polyurethane here with a brush over everything. This stuff dries really quickly. It's very forgiving. I love it. I think it's great. There we go. And then once this side dries, we'll do the other side. Just make sure it's not pulling up. This is going to give it a nice little shine too. Okay, And now I'm gonna paint the back, and I wanna make sure to get the sides, okay? This stuff can be a little drippy, so be careful. Unless you don't mind messing up your art table like me. I don't mind. That's kind of what an art table is for. Okay. Oops. Like I said, a little goes a long way. Okay, so now my polyurethane is completely dry, and you can see I've got this really beautiful, interesting charm that I'm gonna eventually make a necklace out of. I'm gonna attach this guy to it and then put a chain on it. Yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you like this tutorial. Please be kind with me. I'm a severely underslept person, so I tend to mumble a lot or say things that don't make any sense. But hopefully the majority of this video made sense to you. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Thanks.